Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So we talk a lot about intentional spending, intentional shopping, adding things mindfully and slowly to our wardrobe so that we can get the best cost per wear and ultimately the best use out of our money. But what about those scenarios when the situation isn't as within our control as much as we would like? I'm talking about things like boredom browsing, window shopping, and even the, ooh, I like that, where did she get that? I need to have that right now kind of shopping. So yeah, as much as I try to be as intentional as I possibly can when it comes to shopping, sometimes my impulses and more importantly, my boredom can really get the best of me. So when I catch myself in that little rabbit hole, feeling a little bit bored and scrolly and flat out spendy, these are some of the harder questions that I ask before I buy. For those of you who don't know me, welcome. My name's Christina. I talk all about intentional living, intentional spending, and how to get the most out of what you already got. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, then please give this video a thumbs up. It helps me out so much. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. Now, before we get into the hard questions, I want to thank the sponsor of today's video, Audible. You guys know I've worked with Audible many times before. They're a great supporter of my channel, and that's because I genuinely love to consume my knowledge and entertainment through audiobooks. I'm not that big of a reader of like books. Traditionally, I like to listen to audiobooks when I'm working out, when I'm walking to work, if I'm cooking or tidying up, and there are basically endless possibilities on Audible. Since we're talking about conscious spending and intentional shopping in today's video, I want to recommend one of my all-time favorite life-changing reads, and that is I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Ramit Sethi. I really resonate with Ramit's practical and, most importantly, emotional and psychological approach to money, where he really sort of prompts you to explore where it is you see the most value, and that's where you can be putting your money guilt-free. Everything else can really be automated, and that way you can make your money start working for you while you spend the rest of your time living your rich life. As an Audible member, you'll have a huge selection of titles to choose from bestsellers, podcasts, Audible originals, and more. You can choose one title a month to keep forever, including the latest bestsellers and new releases, and they update it all the time. And if you wanted to try Audible completely for free for 30 days, you can go to audible.com/Christina Majas or text Christina Majas to 500-500. Again, that's Christina Majas to 500-500. So the first hard question to ask yourself before you buy is it the outfit or is it her or him or they? Is it the person that you're attracted to or is it the clothing itself? And I find that especially when it comes to shopping or finding things that intrigue us, it might just be the person that we're finding attractive rather than the outfit or garment itself. And for me, it's been a hard truth to accept because sometimes it is the body or the height or the whole package that I'm attracted to. And I know in my real life, I probably wouldn't actually wear the piece, use the piece, or it just flat out wouldn't be as flattering on me as it is on the person I saw it on. And to me, that's perfectly okay. I think it's a really powerful thing and a really powerful act of self-love to kind of know what it is that works for you and accept and love the body that you're in. Question number 2 is, what am I trying to remedy right now? For years, I used to use shopping as my favorite form of escapism. I would shop when I was happy to prolong that feeling, and I would shop when I was sad or bored to help me fill some time, yes, but I think for many other reasons to soothe and escape certain feelings that I just didn't want to deal with. It was always easier to swipe the credit card, to add to cart, and to create a sense of anticipation for the package coming in rather than to actually face and deal with the problems that I was trying to escape. And figuring this out may take some real deep work. It may even require the help from a professional therapist because the reason that we shop in impulse buy, especially if it's more compulsive, it can be a symptom of a greater problem and of a greater issue that maybe runs deeper than we're willing to deal with right now. So there's no shame in getting help for that and asking for help. I've gone through therapy myself as I was working through all of this. But if you are a little bit frank with yourself and ask yourself that question up front, I think it can, yes, be very painful, but also really helpful in helping slowing down that impulse and just digging a little deeper. Question number 3 is, am I trying to have something in common with someone I admire? I used to do this all the time, especially in the era of beauty YouTube, of makeup guru YouTube. I used to think it was the coolest thing that I could have access to certain makeup products that my favorite influencers were using. It felt really special to me at the time to know that like me and Desi Perkins were using the same NARS highlighter. And I think this can kind of go twofold, especially when it comes to influencers. Like there's certain influencers that I know and trust and that, you know, maybe we have similar styles. Then I do look to them for recommendations and even to see how they like vet certain products. And that way, you know, I can get good use out of my money and all that stuff that we talk about. But the other angle that I've learned to be a little bit more mindful with about is, do I just want to have something in common with them? For me, it was like a way to feel closer to that person, and there would be like a fantasy of, oh, if we ever met, then it could be like, oh, I have that too, I love it, don't you love it? It's like a conversation starter. So I think just digging a little bit deeper and thinking a little bit more critically about why it is that you want that thing when you saw it on that certain person. Are they actually helping you make a better decision when it comes to that purchase? Or is it something that you want to use as a way to feel closer to them, even if you'll never meet in like a sort of parasocial way? If I'm being honest, sometimes it's like, oh, I want it because I saw Matilda Djerf wearing it. And there isn't much more of a deeper reason than that. And if that is the reason, then it helps me maybe think twice about it. Question number 4 is a little bit more practical and I think maybe more tailored to occasion wear or like standout pieces. And it's, besides the one event that I'm picturing wearing this thing, where else and how else can I wear this? I think it is actually a very useful shopping technique to kind of picture where you want to wear this thing and come up with ideas and places of where you're going to wear it. But if the item is like really, really sort of unique and special and a little bit more on the like occasion wear side, then I would just see if you can think a little bit more realistically about where else and when else you want to wear that item. Especially when it comes to really sort of fantastic occasion wear. Like if it's so cool that you only really want to be seen in it one time, then maybe it's not really the best buy. In which case I would maybe look towards an option like renting it so that the garment stays sort of special and unique to that situation. You also save a little bit of your money. And question number 5 is one of my favorites, and it's, who am I really buying this for? Is it me? Real me, everyday me, or is it fantasy self me? The fantasy self. You gotta love her, you also gotta hate her. Honestly, I've been doing a lot of thinking about the fantasy self, and I spent a lot of time over the past 2.5 years decluttering her because I used to shop primarily for my fantasy self. That would mean things like buying one-hit wonder occasion wear pieces that I never ended up actually going to because that's just not the life that I live. I don't live a Carrie Bradshaw, New York City, French girl, LA rock star, socialite life. I had a lot of fantasy selves, clearly. Or I would buy a ton of high heels when I stand all day at work, I walk to work, and when I do wear high heels, I feel like I'm gonna vomit by the end of the night. I would continuously buy things that were so completely out of alignment with my actual life, and I would also never take any steps or actions to create that fantasy life that I thought about. Because I think a fantasy self can be useful in terms of like the dress for the life you want kind of mentality. I think you can use your fantasy self to sort of mold your own aesthetic. Like for me, a lot of my fantasy self is like fabulous French cool girl, a little bit of like LA rock and roll chic, really fab like Scandinavian style. So I use a lot of that fantasy and incorporate it into my personal style. But I feel like I've learned to take what I need from that fantasy and leave what I don't, because maybe that cool girl loves to wear high heels, but I don't, so I'm not going to take that part of her. So I think that's how you can use the fantasy self in a healthier way. But when you are shopping for a certain piece or are intrigued by one / planning to impulse buy it, I think there's still a lot of merit in asking that question and asking which perspective you're looking at that fantasy self from. And that is, are you trying to escape from your current reality, or are you using it to mold a reality realistically and one that can actually serve you? So those are some of the harder questions to ask yourself before you buy, but I think they are really effective questions to ask. because it just gets you to slow down, stop, and think a little bit more critically before you decide to spend that money. Obviously, not every purchase will be a perfect one, but I think knowing the why behind it can really help you sort of figure out if it's a purchase that you're gonna feel joyful and excited about versus one that you might end up regretting. Let me know if you have any hard questions that you ask yourself before you buy. Leave me a comment down below. And don't forget, if you want to try Audible completely for free for 30 days, you can go to audible.com/Christina Majas or text Christina Majas to 500-500. Again, that's Christina Majas to 500-500. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to give this video a thumb, subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.